call the Impressionists. I'll tell you more about that when we get there. We've had Impressionist artists before in Meet the Masters, and if you've been here since kindergarten, I know you've heard that word before. So it'll be a very quick review of who they were and how they were painting. But she was definitely part of that group, and so her work would not be described as realistic, nor would it be described as abstract. It was somewhere in between. Let me go turn off our lights, and we'll get started, and you'll learn more about our famous artists. Take yourself back about 150 years ago when she was a young artist. And imagine going to a photographer's studio. Yes, they did have cameras back then. They were very different from today's kind of cameras. And you would pose for that photographer, and chances are your picture would look like this. Is anybody smiling in this photograph? You know, have you ever noticed, have you ever looked at a lot of these old pictures and no one is ever smiling? Well, I have a personal theory about why that is. I don't think it's my own idea. It's something I've read in the past and I kind of agree with it. There was a very good reason why people didn't smile. It's because of the way the cameras worked. You know, if I had a modern day camera in my hand right now, I could snap pictures of you. You don't even have to stop moving. With today's camera settings, you can even be moving, playing sports, and I could still take a picture of you and it would turn out okay. But that sophisticated camera that we have today, it had not been invented yet. The cameras back then were very big, very boxy, and they worked very slowly. Frankly, I don't think the photographers wanted you to smile, because smiling uses a lot of your facial muscles. It makes you look better, but it does use a lot of your muscles of the face. And you had to hold that pose sometimes as much as 5 minutes while the camera slowly took the picture. I can tell you, it's hard to hold a smile for 5 minutes. Your facial muscles would get very fatigued. And you fall out of the smile, and if you moved, it ruined the photo. And that is why when you look at these pictures, not only, number one, are the people not smiling, but number two, they look very stiff, because that's what they were told. Don't move a muscle. So they're holding themselves very rigid, very stiff. Some photographers even used clamps. Can you see in this cartoon right here? That would clamp the back of your head or the back of your neck to keep you rigid without moving. They would often use them when they were photographing children, because you know, young children, they can be kind of wiggle worms. And that was another way to ensure that the photograph didn't get blurry if people moved. So that's one of the main reasons why you never saw people smiling in these old-fashioned photographs. You know, it's interesting that the paintings of the time were also very stiff and formal and very, very posed. Look at this famous painting called Blue Boy. It's by an English artist by the name of Gainsborough. Do you think Blue Boy knew he was getting painted? Actually, he did. Look at how he's standing. He's looking right at the artist. He's wearing probably his very best outfit, that blue satin outfit. He's got his hand on his hip. He's looking very important. He knew he was getting painted. His portrait was getting done. And so it's got a very formal, very posed look, the painting, just like the photograph of those 3 children. Very formal, very posed. Along comes Mary Cassatt, and she says, I don't want formal pose look in my paintings. I want a very casual, very relaxed look in my paintings. And I think when you look at this painting, it's very casual and relaxed. Look at how she's slouching on the chair. She's not sitting up, with perfect posture. She's very relaxed. You get the feeling that this is like a surprise, sneaky picture. Like, this is her niece, and it looks like her niece didn't even know that Aunt Mary was painting her. There on the chair is the little dog. We're going to see the niece and the dog again in some more family portraits, but I wanted to show you this one because of the very casual, very relaxed pose that the daughter is showing us, or the niece is showing us, sorry. And something else I want you to notice about this picture. Would you kind of agree the colors are nice and bright, all that blue? I will be talking about her choice of colors in a few minutes as well, but please remember how bright this blue is. This is Mary Cassatt's self-portrait. I don't need to tell you what a self-portrait is. We covered that very well with Rembrandt. Look at how casual and relaxed she is in her own self-portrait. Look at how she's not looking in our direction. Think about Rembrandt. He was always looking straight ahead and looking very formal when he painted his self-portraits. But not Mary. She's looking in another direction. She's leaning against a chair in a very comfortable way. She is wearing a hat, though. And let me mention right now that your art project for this artist is creating your own hat. You're going to design your hat and color it. And we're going to be seeing a lot of hats today, so let this inspire you. Mary was lucky. Well, let me back up here a second, and before I start talking about her family, let me just say that Mary Cassatt is considered to be the first famous woman artist in the United States. There have been a lot of famous female artists in the United States that the United States has produced, but she's the first one, and many others have followed her. She was like the pioneer. She made it easier for other women to succeed as artists. One of the reasons why Mary was able to become an artist is because she was lucky at birth to be born into a wealthy family. If you were wealthy, what do you have a lot of? Money. Yes, I want to make sure you know what wealthy means. You can be wealthy with friends, you can be wealthy in love. In this case, her family was wealthy in money. I think her family had banks or railroad or something like that. They were actually from the East Coast. She grew up mostly in the Philadelphia area, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is just south of New York City. That side of the United States has the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, the other ocean on the other side is what? Pacific. So if you happen to go to the beach this weekend and go swimming, you're going to be swimming in the Pacific. She would have been, had she been swimming in the ocean growing up as a child, she would have been swimming in the Atlantic. Because her family had money, and families of wealth back then would often take their children and travel by ship across the ocean to Europe. This would be a long vacation. They would be gone sometimes weeks, sometimes even months at a time. The family would visit different countries of Europe. It was a way of educating their children. They would visit different countries of Europe. They would hire, rent an apartment, a very nice one, hire servants, hire tutors for the children. So whatever country they were in, they learned the language of that country. So if they were in Germany, they would have had a German tutor. So Mary would have learned German as a child.